reaction? Obviously today it became official that he'll be starting for at least 3 games.
Right. Hey, I haven't even heard the amount of games or anything like that. Listen, mentally, I've been preparing like I was going to play the whole time anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal.
How about going against your old team?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it a lot. It should be an exciting one. Listen, anytime you get a chance to lace them up on Sunday and you know try to put yourself in the team in the best situation you can, it's a lot of fun. Grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, obviously there's going to be some different emotions that I haven't experienced before with this one.
Robert did say that Zach's out at least 3 games. I mean, is it different for you going in knowing you have a body of time to deal with versus week to week, or is it not different?
I don't know. It's tough to tell. You have to be so focused and locked in on the week that you're in, no matter what in this league. And if you let your mind kind of get outside of that box, um, you're kind of doing your team a disservice anyway. So I would say not really too much has changed.
We talked about this before, but now that this week is here, what is the challenge like of acknowledging that it's not like any other game, but also trying not to make too much of it going up against your former team?
I think at the end of the day, it is like every other game. Once kind of the dust settles and the game gets going, it's a football game. You're lining up and you're playing against the guys across from you. So I've played it enough to know that at some point that's going to be the time. Maybe the first snap or two will be even extra, you know, extra kind of crazy feelings that go into it. But after that, um, you know, I've been a part of a bunch of playoff games and all those things, and it's a football game at the end of the day. It's just a matter of when it settles in and when you can let your mind calm down a little bit.
So were there any bad feelings with the Ravens? 2018 when you came back from the injury and they stuck with Lamar, or then after the season when they decided to move on from you?
No, not really. I mean, it's part of the business, and obviously your competitive nature has certain feelings about it. But um, a lot of those things are out of my control to a certain extent, and like I said, what I've been trying to do ever since then is kind of just keep my head down and work and get better at football and look for the best opportunities I can.
What were your impressions of a young Lamar Jackson back then? And did you envision what his future might look like?
Well, he's just a football player. He's tough, and he loves going out there on Sunday and playing. You can tell that. I think it's tough to try to predict, how guys are going to go because there have been so many guys that you've seen come and go through this league that can play. So I think trying to foreshadow those things is always tough. But um, I think one of the things that stands out, obviously, in his style of play is how tough he is. And I think anytime you got that kind of toughness, then you have the ability to last a long time.
He's in a somewhat similar, or could be, assuming he doesn't get a new contract. He's betting on himself, for this year. You did that in 12, and it worked out pretty well for you. Can you relate to that? Betting on yourself and
I think people I think it makes for a decent story, one way or the other. Um, at the end of the day, I didn't really view it as betting on myself, and therefore I didn't really have to put any extra pressure on myself. I was confident in the player that I was, and you know what was going on at that time, and what it all is. And I'm sure he feels the same way. He's confident in the player that he is, and you know he's going to be that player, and all that. So I think at the end of the day, he probably feels like it's all going to settle where it should, as long as he continues to play football. So I know people like to talk about that and bet on yourself, but I don't think that we really look at it that way. I just think that we kind of look at ourselves as the football players that we are and see what's out there and know the nature of the business, and it kind of is what it is when it comes to contract talks.
what's the preparation like for this week in terms of you don't have 5 weeks of games to watch? Can you get stuff from the preseason? Do you look at Michigan with the coordinator? I mean, how do you kind of handle?
There's been plenty of years where you go into to these kind of games, and you're like, all right, what are they going to do? And listen, I think in terms of Baltimore's defense, they've had, as long as you can remember, they've had good defenses and they have something that they believe in. So there is going to be difference, obviously, with the person that's behind the window calling the games, but ultimately, um, I think they're going to rely on the things that they've kind of always found consistency and therefore, you got to rely on that a little bit yourself and just go play football.
Joe, do you remember your first touchdown pass with the Ravens 14 years ago?
I believe it was a Daniel Wilcox against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yep.
Did you
So
save that
yes.
ball? You still got that ball? You still got that ball, or?
I don't know if I have it, to be honest with you. Dan might have it. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you that.
Show your kids that video.
That was kind of that was anticlimactic. It was a goal line formation, and he ran a corner route. It didn't look pretty. I threw one in that game to Derek Mason on a shake route that he was in. He was definitely in for a touchdown, and they did not call it one, and we didn't review it. And I think that game we ended up losing, and I forget if it went to overtime and we lost, or it was something like that, where that might have put us over the edge to actually win the game. But
Joe, can you talk about your comfort level here now that you've been here a couple of years and what you think the potential of this team can be with your new teammate here?
yeah, I'm having a great time here. I mean, I think anytime you're 15 years in the league, you're gonna have what feels like a young group around you. But I'm having a lot of fun with them, and it does help that I've been here for a few years and have that rapport with a bunch of guys in the team. And you can definitely tell the difference between the locker room then and now. I'll continue to say it. I think we have some momentum behind us, but we still haven't done it on Sunday and on a consistent basis. So I think until we do that, you always need to prove it to yourself. And that locker room, we're in a good spot, but we need to go out there and prove it to ourselves and get out to a good start.